On this episode of ResiWeek, OLED, not for displays, but for lighting. Control4 is going around the world to train all its dealers, plus looking at networking for home AV. All that and more, next on ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 16, recorded Monday, May 16th, 2016. Learn and change. ResiWeek is brought to you by our fine group of underwriters, companies like Crestron. This is ResiWeek, the weekly look at the residential and home automation segment of the AV industry. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us this week, my buddy pal from New Jersey, Mr. Todd Anthony Puma. Hello, sir.
I'm doing well. Tim, how are you, brother?
Doing good. A couple of new timers here, so be nice to them if you would, please, Todd. First and foremost, Doug Seaman. Doug is from Echo Systems. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And also from Fambaro, Mr. Rich. Rich, I didn't even ask you how to pronounce your last name. How do you pronounce your last name?
Very simple, Bira.
Bira. I almost had it right. I should have just gone with my gut. How are you, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Also, if you've never watched or listened to this program, what we do is we take 3 or 4 stories around the world of residential AV, chop them up, synopsize them, and get these fine, smart people's take on exactly what's going on with it. First and foremost, from our buddies over at CE Pro, Control4 is doing some interesting things, and what was it, back in February, right before ISE actually, they announced the purchase of PackEdge, which is PackEdge is a network company. They make switches and stuff, primarily for the home market, but they do have some commercial applications. Publicly traded company. What they announced last week was a 42, count them, 42 city dealer training tour. That's a lot. That's a lot. And according to their what their announcement, they're dubbing it the Smart Home Essentials Tour. Todd, I'm going to start with you on this. 42. First of all, 42 cities is a lot. What do you think they're hoping to accomplish in getting out there and getting to the top 40? I'm going to say the top 42, but the 42 markets that they're calling, kind of their key areas. And the reason I'm asking is, coming from the world of broadcast, you start looking at market sizes and market demographics. The top 25 cities, right, are really where people focus on. You start getting in the top 30 and the top 40, you're talking about places like, Springfield, Massachusetts, right? Smaller areas, smaller towns. You start getting in the top 40 and the top 50, it's even smaller than that. So the fact that they've hit on this number and are going out after these 42 areas, what do you think they're hoping to accomplish by going out and into the field and training their dealers?
It's all about brand awareness at this point and owning the market. Obviously, the smart home has become a standard at this point in time, and it's on everyone's tongues. Customers are asking for it. Journalists are talking about it in all different markets. TV personalities are talking about it. And now they need to make sure that their dealers are aware. And if they don't have dealers in those states or those areas, to make them more aware. Bringing PackEdge into the mix, being one of the first, companies to acquire a networking company and to say, hey, listen, you guys need to figure out how to build a stable network in the home environment. It's no longer just for the enterprise or commercial market. It's happening in their home. Here's what you need to know. Here's the education that is being put into place. Here's what we didn't know before, but now we do by having PackEdge here. And it's kind of retraining the guys who are currently there and who they're possibly looking on bringing on staff. Control4 has definitely been a competitor for a lot of different companies like Savant, Crestron, Elan, and they came to, in my eyes, they came out of nowhere and pretty much took over, a big portion of New York's market, New Jersey's market. There's dealers on every corner at this point. And that's not by mistake. It's because they are making fantastic products that are easy to use and also easy to implement in people's homes. And if people did not know how easy it is to use, they're building these trainings to get in front of people who they couldn't get to before, maybe who couldn't travel out to their 3 locations where they do their trainings. A blog a few weeks ago I wrote about is manufacturers investing that $5,000 opening order and kind of looking and trying the products and taking a chance with these manufacturers. This is kind of something, in a way, what I was talking about is they're giving you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about their products and possibly implement their product line into your basket of solutions that you offer to your clients. I think it's a great move, and you know what? I'm looking for more manufacturers to take a step like this and to get out there and go to every single city, just like Guns N' Roses is doing at this point.
Jeez.
So C4 is Guns N' Roses at this point, not in this lifetime tour. They're doing it.
No, they're not. Please don't.
Let me interject. Isn't
Yes.
that worldwide, though? It's not just in the
It is
United
worldwide. Yeah, I was going to get to that when I got to you, because Rich, the one thing about that is you've got, it is 42 cities around the world. Most of them are in the U.S., but you've got Dubai, because that's where their last training is. You've got a number of Latin America and Asia Pacific countries. How do you not just logistically do that, but when you set apart, because if Fabaro is a manufacturer, how do you set about saying, okay, these are our most important cities, these are our most important markets?
I mean, there's different, so Fabaro, we ourselves are in 100 different countries, about 103, I think, the last count. Our headquarters is based out of Poland, so we're very strong out in Europe, in Dubai, we're actually in there as well too. So, it comes down to, we've got different product managers for different regions, different key stakeholders, and as certain markets, we're very big in telco too. So we do a lot of telco training for like Orange out in France, Germany. So it really kind of depends where the business is being driven, that we have to put some extra resources in. So it's not an easy answer, especially when you're dealing with other countries and you've got other languages. It becomes pretty challenging.
Speaking of that, let's talk about that for a second, the multi-language thing. I mentioned ISE when I started talking about Control 4. I went to ISE again this year, and in my copious amounts of spare time at any trade show, I happened to connect with the folks over at Extron, who have a location right there in actually it's in Amersfoort, which is adjacent to Amsterdam. They don't manufacture anything there, but there's a large distribution facility, and they were showing me this giant farm of cubicles where everybody, not even cubicles, it was like a big work group, and each person had on their desk the various countries that they were serving. And it wasn't just customer support; it was language translation. It was, customer support in their native language. So you had native speakers who also spoke English, so they could translate between the information that came out of Anaheim, which is where Extron's corporate headquarters is, into local language. How important is that when you're trying to expand and you're trying to get into these other regions?
It's extremely important. I can tell you that our company being based out of Poland, even I think we have our manuals come in 17 different languages for our products, and besides the 17 languages that our products are in, we have a controller too as well. The controller itself can translate into 17 or 18 different languages. We do have people, in our headquarters that do speak the different languages, and there's such an importance in translating, the difference between, let's say, like Europe and here in the United States. There's a lot more explanation that happens in home automation. Here, the messaging has to be faster, more abrupt, shorter, more precise. And if you try to do something just like in a Google Translate, it's not going to work because it's not going to resonate with the consumers, which are the end market. And you've got to make sure that touch point, when the consumer is seeing the product or the manuals, or even some manufacturers, they have access to settings. They have to be crystal clear. Otherwise, it's not a good experience for the customer.
No, absolutely. Doug, let's come back to the actual Control 4 and honestly package and stuff. Todd said something, and part of the quote from the piece from CE Pro says, the networking landscape is changing rapidly from the number of connected devices in a home to how much data is being consumed. How much is Control 4 having to get the integrator at this point, the home professional, up to speed on stuff like this, and how much is already happening?
Ooh, that's a deep question. How many layers are in that onion right there?
Oh, very well done.
Obviously, you've got a history of AV guys. You've got decades and decades of, I'll call them analog boys.
Okay.
For lack of a better term. It's a new world for all of us, but if you don't, commit to the fact that the network is everything, you're going to fall behind. You're going to get steamrolled in the next whatever time period, 2, 3, 5 years. We can all see it coming. I always think back to an article by Mark Andreessen where he said software is eating the world. That's pretty much what's happening to the entire AV industry right now. Rich Fergosa said it on a few of these podcasts, but you've got to understand total integration picture from hardware to software to services. You've got to wrap your head around the entire picture. And that includes networking, and that includes knowing how a network is designed, built, installed, and serviced.
I agree.
No, I would as well.
It's just that simple. I mean, get on the board, the train, or get steamrolled.
Yeah, absolutely.
At this point, I think that the sale is a lot easier for the end user or the customer to understand how to upgrade a network, because I feel in their home it is what's most important to them. Their Wi-Fi, using their phones, going on their laptops, streaming YouTube videos, streaming, their wedding videos, whatever they might have. They understand that how important the network is. And Time Warner Cable and the cable manufacturers have been doing a pretty good job on educating the clients, with their added broadband services. Verizon every day, we give 100 by 100. We match 100 download by 100 upload. And that plants seeds in customers' minds, even though we don't realize it, but it helps to make our job a little bit easier. But again, other companies are making it a little more challenging on the other end, like Amazon Echo and Apple TV, and manufacturers are more DIY. They're just saying, it could be done with just an app, and just here it goes, and you have a whole home automation system with one app control. It's very easy to do. So at this point, we're dealing with that double-edged sword, and a lot more challenges are happening. Like you were saying, Rich Fergosa, I work with Rich on every project at this point. And Rich and I have always talked to our clients, and the one thing that we always go through and the expectations we set is networking first. We don't talk about the Crestron system. We don't talk about the system we're implementing at home. We don't talk about the programming. We talk about this. Okay, your network. What are we going to do about that? Here's what we need to do. And we educate them on that first with one phone call. Then the next phone call goes into whole home automation. We want to make sure that with the words we're speaking to them is implanting, and the seeds are being planted in their head, and they're understanding how important it is to have a robust network for what we're putting in their home, even if it's not a big Crestron system. It could just be your everyday devices you're putting in your home. How many iPads, how many iPhones, how many Apple TVs, whatever it may be.
That's exactly what we do too. I mean, we have that conversation about, how many kids are in the home, how many devices do you have? You ever had Netflix freeze up on you? You ever had video games freeze up on you? Those types of conversations lead into the networking and the infrastructure planning, because without that, nothing else can happen.
So let me ask this, and understand that I'm still learning this whole residential thing, so forgive me for the stupid question. Thank you. I come from education, I come from commercial, right? Where we don't have these conversations. We have departments for this. We have people, right? We have IT departments that, God love them. We have to fight with, right, about getting on the network. Let me see if I can understand this. And Doug and Todd, I'm expecting you, and Rich, if you want to jump in, cool. Am I understanding you guys to basically say that you are basically the IT contractor as well as the AV contractor? Okay. Interesting.
We've had to learn IT. We've had to learn DHCP. We've had to learn WAPs. We've had to learn routers and switches, and we've had to learn network security permissions just because it comes with the territory.
Makes sense. And the more secure and stable that system is, the more secure and stable your system will be. So
right, it's a quality control issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're going to put our name on a project, we're not going to leave anything to chance.
Yeah.
Some companies, make it a lot easier for us to set up and implement those kind of systems. Package is one of them. Package, pretty much sets it up for you. They go through step by step, and they're GUI and they explain to you the VLAN procedures, STP protocol, certain products that you have, maybe Crestron, Control Force, Avant, or Sonos. You have to go by a certain protocol. And I feel that their training structure and the way they educate their dealers is pretty much one of the best that I have dealt with. Cisco Meraki is another one. And that's all really I've dealt with at this point.
Well, and the reason, good Lord, a month or so ago, we had on a guy from Access Networks, and it was supposed to be a full show. Had a couple people drop off at the last minute, and so it was just me and a guy, right? Great conversation, and I learned so much. And they're similar in the fact that their focus is the network infrastructure for the home market. Learned so much from that conversation. So yeah, I mean, you guys are very interesting.
Let's be honest here, right? The network, to put that on the table to have someone else do it, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, that's how we generate, revenue on a daily basis. That's our residual. That's how we get into the customer's home, maintain their system, VPN in, make changes to the programming, to firmware updates. The list goes on and on. Without the network and owning that network and hand it over to someone else, you pretty much hand it over, I feel, basically 40% of my revenue at this point, and growing.
And a lot of it comes down to service too. There's products and services out there like iHeG, and I know there's others, that let you as an integrator manage your clients' expectations and their systems, and you get notified ahead of time to be more proactive in your service.
Very interesting. All right. Learn something new. That's my whole point, is I learn something new every day, and that was one of them. All right, guys. Let's talk about my favorite subject, OLED. And this is not where you think, oh, good Lord. God loves Spec Crestron or Charter and their wonderful commercials. If you're not familiar, Charter just bought, who did they buy?
3 cheers for advertising, eh?
Time Warner. So good, yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, if you enjoy, I enjoy my Charter because that's actually what I'm talking to you on now. So don't cut me off, Charter. This is from strategy.com. Not an advertiser. I pay him, a healthy amount every month. Deepening investment. LG is going into mass manufacturing of OLED light panels. Light panels. Now, as we scroll through this lovely article by our buddy, Mr. Ted Green, one of the things that really popped in my head was this flexible lighting panel made by LG. And if you're listening to the audio version, just click on the story if you go to our page. So here's where this has kind of evolved for me. I've been a big fan of OLED panels for displays, right? I think there's a lot of possibilities there. I think there's a lot of future there, although the manufacturers have not yet figured out a way to make money, make money consistently with them in the mass consumer market. Yes, you can go out and you can purchase one for roughly $10,000, $12,000. But as far as there's a magic number somewhere around between $1,000 and $2,000 where they really start hitting. Doug, we'll start with you on this. I guess my best question is there a market in the home for OLED lighting?
Well, interesting you should ask. Our company started out in the lighting business. So the origins of our entire company is we sold lights, we sold fixtures. We're big in Lutron lighting control. And we have a full-time lighting designer on staff. And I was asking him specifically about this article and what he thought of OLED lighting and fixtures and what it's doing to the market. And he explained to me that from his perspective as a lighting designer, what's driving this is the TV market. The idea of mass manufacturing, a new technology, it's a lot like the drug company model where it's high R&D costs, high initial price, but then mass market brings it down. But the other thing you have to think about is OLED as a fixture is a lot more energy efficient. He said up to 50% less than even LED. And it's also in the, there's a CRI, which is, I don't remember what it stands for, but it's how accurate is the lighting color, the hue, the temperature, that sort of thing. OLED is a lot more accurate relative to halogen than LED. So from a design standpoint, he loves it. He said he's going to wait for it to become more mass market because it's still unproven. But it is an interesting parallel to the display market.
All right, Mr. Todd, what do you think as far as getting lighting into the home from OLED?
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole LED part of the lighting. It's been a little bit of a challenge, with picking fixtures and if this fixture is going to work with this lighting switch and, depending on designers and certain lighting fixtures that they're using. Now OLED is coming, and it's just, for me, it's just something else we're going to have to learn. Am I excited about it? I can't say at this point, but, based on what Doug was just saying, 50% in a reduced cost, was it? Doug,
Energy consumption.
Energy consumption,
yeah.
And closer to halogen. Right there, those are the 2 points that I would definitely like, because whenever I'm placing the LED lights, my own personal home, in a customer's homes, the first thing they complain about, even if it is closer to, the light 2700, it might be, they're still saying it's a little whiter, or it's dimmer than it was before. So I think OLED will be more true to the color. And I think that would stop so many conversations or issues from happening, back and forth with lighting designers and clients at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I could interject here, I think that OLED is, it's definitely still a few years out, but OLED is also going to change a little bit the way that lighting is done. I think we're all accustomed to the halogens and then the LED light bulbs that have replaced it, and now we see LED light strips, which we use quite a bit, because we make a micro little LED switch lighting control. But OLED is definitely a smoother kind of LED distribution. So you can look, as you looked in that picture, it's flexible. There's going to be a lot of different applications. So you'll notice that OLED's already being used in cars for lighting. So like dashboards, there's lighting that could go around curves. Several years ago, I already saw the OLED applications where it's transparent. You'll be able to throw it up on glass, and then, sun will come through, and then all of a sudden at night you could turn it on, and it looks like, natural sunlight.
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be years before it gets there, but it's going to drastically change how lighting is even done.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a part of a much bigger trend in the lighting industry in general. I was going back to the our lighting designer on staff. I was asking him about other issues in the lighting world. He recently came back from Light Fair, which is their big annual trade show, and he was describing to me not only OLED lights, but the concept of lighting fixtures, including distributed sensors, for things like logistics and motion detection. The idea that a lot of the sensors that we install externally right now will become part of a light fixture. And these manufacturers are getting into the business of data mining based on those built-in sensors. And that was a mind bender for me.
Well, and that right there is that gets back to a conversation we've had a couple different times about digital signage, right? Where you got all these different sensors and all this data collection, and honestly, I don't think but a couple of companies are really utilizing that information yet. I think Doug makes a good point where we're yet to see exactly where we're going to end up with this. So. All right, from our good friend Mr. John Siaka, who graced these very airwaves a couple of weeks ago. 10 product features I'd like to see from manufacturers. And Rich, yes, we're going to beat up on you. So, not all of these apply to you, obviously. We're going to go through this real quick, and then Doug and Todd, I'm going to give you one or two shots of things you'd like to add to this. And Rich, I'm actually going to give you the opportunity to say, a couple things you'd like to see from your dealers. Right, so you get to beat up on them. John says detachable power cords, IP controllability. I'll 100% agree with him on this. Remote support, rear IR connection. If you can't give IP control, at least give the folks the opportunity to put those big, ugly IR emitters on the back end, for crying out loud. Absolutely. Dimmable, defeatable front panel lights. Absolutely. Video splash screen when you're off. Not a half bad idea. Analog audio outputs and make it rack mountable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I can see some of that. I can also see where, Middle Atlantic and some others make some very fine rack shelves. So if it's not rack mountable, you can just get a shelf.
Yeah, but they do. But they also increase costs for more of the middle market.
It's $10.
No, not at all. It's a $200 cost. It's usually $200, and I'm not going to say what our cost is.
Okay.
But it's expensive to build those custom rack shelves.
All right.
I agree with going with them, but the middle market guys, they're the ones who are suffering, and that's why the racks look so horrible.
Well, okay. All right. So Todd, since you're up, you give me one or two things to add to this list.
Oh no, I'm gonna let Doug take this one.
Okay, Doug, go ahead.
Yeah. Lockable front buttons and panels.
Yep.
How about that?
That's a definite.
Discrete power. I don't know if he said that. Discrete power everywhere.
That was in some of his the discrete power controls. Yeah. So.
Modular design for things like preamps, controllers, receivers, upgradability, scalability.
Yep. Big fan of that. There's a couple of actually cell phone manufacturers, not to get off too much of a trail, that are looking at that modular ability, right? Where you have one base unit and then you have the ability as devices and items can be upgraded, like the light sensor, like the lenses, like the camera itself. You basically take it apart and slap the new one on. So
I kind of feel like somebody should make a poster of a DB9 connector and say, "I ain't dead yet." But there's still legacy equipment out there that needs it, uses it. But if we're talking to manufacturers, I'd say, kill that bad boy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Rich, what's a couple of things you'd like to see back from your dealers, from the folks that are putting this stuff in and dealing with this on a daily basis?
So we deal a lot in the Z-Wave world. Our products, talk on a different protocol. So there's a lot of, manufacturers starting to adopt Z-Wave within their systems, but it's somewhat of an add-on. And it's tough when you're adding different protocols to work with legacy systems. And there's education. And I'd probably say one of the tough things that I'd love to see dealers do more is spending time on educating themselves. Z-Wave's fairly new still into the, AV world. Companies like URC's got an add-on. Savant's got an add-on, but it's all through Neos. And there's some of our dealers that do the installations with Z-Wave, but they understand the older systems and their world. They sometimes don't know how a Z-Wave network, it's a mesh network, how it works. So taking the time to Z-Wave themselves, the Alliance is trying to do a really good job of educating. They started last year at CEDIA with Z-Wave certification programs, but it's education. I'm constantly learning myself. I spend a lot of time reading about different protocols and systems, and I wish sometimes the dealers would do that.
Why do you feel that we don't? What do you feel the reasons are? And be candid here. You don't have. You can say whatever you have to say to be honest with us, because I'm one of the dealers, right?
Yeah.
At this point,
I definitely think that there's definitely dealers that do, but then there's some dealers that are. That have been around for a long time and they don't want to adapt to the new stuff coming, and they're sticking more with what they know versus trying to figure out the new things, because those are the customers are the ones that are coming in and saying, hey, I want Sonos, or hey, I want that Nest thermostat, where some of these dealers are sticking with what they've known and they're not trying to see how to integrate that within the system. So I'm not saying this is across the board for everybody, but I see two sides of the coin. And I love the ones that, are educating and know their stuff and adopting, because that's what's going to make dealers survive, is because, this world of IoT is only getting it's accelerating, it's getting faster. And, a year from now, we'll be talking about, a lot of different things that are connected that you would never think were connected. And the end consumers are coming in and asking for that.
Yeah.
Right. And how do we not offer our customers what they're looking for? Again, I understand if it's not a test detect, technology, and it's something that could be a disadvantage to them, and we have to properly educate them. But how are we not educating ourselves? And if we're a business, we're supposed to constantly keep changing and growing and learning and understanding what's out there. If we put a wall up and say, I'm not doing that, this is what I do, this is what I know, sorry, not going past this wall, then where are we going to get as an industry, or where are those guys going to get as an industry? They're just going to have guys like myself and other competitors just take over their market and take their clients. And they're going to say that, the question that they all say is, I don't understand why. I don't understand why my business went down 50%. This clearly is something is happening. I'm going to fire John from marketing. He sucks. I'm going to fire Daniel from programming. He's obviously not doing a great job. But it's all starting from the top. And what you're saying is true. I hear this every day. And when I go to CEDIA, I love hearing those stories from the veterans, which I respect. But the one thing they all say is, I'm not going to test this crap. What's that? Crestron, they have 12 different pieces of crap out. I don't like any of it. It doesn't work. Have you tested it? No. I don't do networking. That stuff don't work. Networking. What is that? Come on. That's for commercial business. I'm a residential guy. We have CrestNet. We don't do that. I don't
feel sorry for those guys one bit.
But you know what?
Well, hang on.
They deserve to go out of business.
Yeah, Doug makes a good point, right? CEDIA has done a good job. Infocom has done a good job. The manufacturers have done a good job of basically not. I'm not going to say spoon feeding because that sounds childish, but presenting the information in several different areas and letting you guys know that are out there. Look, this is what's coming. Right? This is what's coming. This is where the industry is. These are where your clients are. This is what you probably should learn. To Doug's point, I don't feel sorry for them. I mean, I do. I feel sorry for their employees, right?
That's right.
Who are still, in those organizations. But, for the folks who have been given this information for the last, 10, 15 years,
How many times can we say convergence?
Too many. Good God. Oh, man. Stop it.
Sorry.
But the industry at this point isn't listening. They're, Control 4 in this article with CE Pro and is, they're training. They're going
they aren't, right? I mean, some of them are, right?
A lot of people are.
I mean, you seriously. I'm not picking on you two because you're here in front of me. But Todd and Doug, you both are. You're listening. You've educated yourselves. You've educated your employees. You've changed the strategy of your company to reflect what's going on. Right? Fabaro has, right? They're not running copper to every single device. They're getting involved with Z-Wave, and like he said, Rich said it's a mesh network. There are a handful of probably very vocal and like Todd said, old school. I almost said old dogs, but old school folks who will complain, right? And they'll complain when they're in their retirement homes, and the rest of us can go about our business and make money.
Well, we can make quick money. That's the thing. Is products that are coming out there. These new network solutions and products like, Crestron Ping. I could speak behalf only on Crestron since that's the products I offer. But Crestron Ping, you get the jobs done in half the time. You can have products sold, and you're in and out of the customer's house, and they're happy. And it's all done through an app. And from there, you're implementing a new solution, and you keep on going through more and more product sales. How would you not want to do that? Why would you want to go in and hardwire, the whole house and offer just one solution to the clients? Why not have multiple solutions and get into that IoT and the new, millennials, whatever you guys call them at this point, are dealing with all these new and great technologies. If you're not stepping in their doorstep and offering them things that they feel is cool, and you're offering them this complete, a package for $100,000, that's another thing that they're not going to want to spend. The new millennials, they think it could be done cheaper. Yeah. You're just going to be, you're literally going to be a doormat. People are just going to step on you on the way to business, and they're going to keep doing it. So guys, whoever's out there and who's stuck in their ways, learn and change. I'm doing it every day. There's companies out there that I don't want to sell and I don't want to offer, but you know what? We have to. No. It's just part of it.
I just think you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep, I like that.
Certain times.
Yeah, I like that too.
Get out of your comfort zone, stretch yourself, and learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that
And
a lot.
even when you go to CEDIA, go check out the new stuff. Don't just go check out the regular stuff
Yep.
that you always check out. I mean, this will be my fourth year doing CEDIA with Fabaro. We love the dealers that come up and, what's Z-Wave, what is this? And, they want to learn. But, I know that there's a lot of dealers that go to those shows and they just go visit the ones that they normally visit. And, they stay in their siloed approach, and it's almost like the other stuff doesn't even exist.
Exactly.
I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that.
Well, and
So
let me.
I'm breaking out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least you're sitting around. You spend the time when maybe you're not. You're doing the research at home. You're doing the research, and then you're going there and you're checking out the ones that you know. Versus some people, they're never even doing the research. They're never even figuring. Or just listen to your customers. If you've got 10 customers over the last 3-4 months that have asked you for Sonos, but you're still doing wired systems and you don't want to do Sonos, start listening to them. As that gets a little bit louder, they need to, adjust a little bit, I think.
I agree.
Let me relay a story to you from last year's CD, and then we'll get going here. I'd never heard of this company before, right? And Todd knows there's a lot of really great public relations PR folks that we have connection with, and they'll pitch us an idea, and if it makes sense, right, we'll say yes, and if it doesn't, we don't. It's kind of how AVNations works, it's agnostic and kind of whatever. And our good friend Joyce Essig, she had moved from one company to another, and she sends me this pitch, and it's for a company called Claire Controls. Never heard of Claire Controls before in my life, I'll be very honest. And she showed me some of the screenshots and showed me some of the integration they were doing. And at the time, they were probably one of the first companies that were doing integration with Amazon Echo. I think some other ones have come along since then. But they were one of the first. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So you've got a control system, you've got Amazon Echo. Sure, I'll check it out. And as luck would have it, made a really good friendship with it. And I was genuinely impressed. Now, I'm no longer a dealer, right? And I never was a residential dealer. But I look at this thing going, okay, I can see a use case for this. I can see a business case for this. And it was because I took the advice of a trusted friend, right? Somebody that I had a relationship with, and she made a good case for going to see these folks, and we did, and we had a good time. And so I would encourage those who are going to going to CEDIA in the fall, and if you're going to InfoComm, and we'll talk to Doug here in a second about he's going and why. Check out the ones that you don't normally do, right? Go see the 10x10 booths or the 2x2 booths, right? InfoComm has the Innovation Showcase. CEDIA typically has the Rookie Row. Go see these folks because they've poured their heart and soul into this product that they think you're going to love. And there's going to be two things that happen. First of all, you're going to learn something that you probably didn't know going in. And secondly, they're going to get from you feedback onto why this works or why it doesn't, right? So that right there is the two-way street of any trade show, right? So whether it's Fabaro or it's Claire or even it's Crestron, right? Yes, Crestron is the big 50-pound gorilla at InfoComm. They learn stuff from you, trust me. You're going to walk in there and go, why'd you do that? And an engineer is going to be brought over, and questions will be had. Trust me.
I've been there. You know, like I remember when we started at CEDIA, 4 years ago, listening to the dealers and the stuff, and I myself would turn around and talk to the engineers and ask the questions, and we're constantly evolving. Our R&D department alone has got over 100 people in it, and we're just we design and manufacture everything ourselves. So we have that ability to take our, small motion sensor or door window and do, different and innovative things. And, Claire Controls, those guys are great. They use our stuff already in their system too. It's we definitely learn. We learn a lot from the different folks that come up to us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right,
if I can just tag on to something. Tag on to what Todd said earlier about putting up a wall. There's a difference, and I know there's a history of overpromising on the part of manufacturers, et cetera, et cetera. There's a difference between putting up a wall and saying no and being skeptical but open to new ideas. And that difference is critical.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. And that right there is where we'll leave it. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. Rich from Fabaro, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
How do people find you and or Fabaro?
Fabaro.com, Fabiro.com.
All right, very good. Mr. Puma, thank you, sir. How do people find
Thank you,
you?
Tim. You can find me on Twitter at Todd Anthony Puma, or you can find me at residentialsystems.com or thesourcehometheater.com.
Very good.
Awesome.
And last but not least, Mr. Doug Seaman, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
How do people real quickly? And I'll give you the opportunity to plug. But you're a primarily residential dealer moving into commercial. So you're going to Infocom this year. Why are you going?
Well, we took a look at the commercial market relative to the residential market and saw some opportunities. From a business standpoint, we think it's a good market to be in. There's pros and cons to each side of the industry. You can take some good from resi and apply it to commercial, and vice versa, commercial back to resi. They are different animals. Anybody who's stepped foot in both worlds understands, but going into the commercial market, that's really what it came down to. And personally, I want to get the certification, the CTS certification, that makes me stand out from another vendor that may get us in the door a little bit better.
Very good. All right, so we will see him in Vegas. How do people find you or Ecosystems?
I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there, and you can find us at ecosystemsmidwest.com.
All right, very good. Last but not least, my name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me. At this point, I'm doing nothing more than crossing my fingers and rooting for the Blues. That's a hockey
Have fun with that.
thing. So yeah.
I'm from Chicago, so I'm a little sour.
God love you. You know what? I have a lot of friends in Chicago. My buddy Dave Hatz, who works for AVI Systems, big Chicago Blackhawks fan. So he gave me some advice the other day about making it past the first round, because we don't do that very often in St. Louis, at least not in hockey. Baseball's a longer story. So yeah, thank you.
Good luck.
Go by the website though. Lots of really cool people did a lot of hard
Rams.
work. Yeah. I'm a Bears fan though, so I'm a weird one. I'm a St. Louis guy who's a Bears fan and a Blues fan, so it's weird. But yeah, go by the website, AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv, you'll find this program and a host of others. Mentioned Infocom. Holy cow, do we have a lot of stuff going on. Just check out a couple pages we've got there. I'm teaching classes. Josh Rago's teaching classes. George Tucker's teaching classes. All kinds of folks are doing stuff. We've got our tweet up on Thursday between 4 and 6 in room 205. Check that out. And we'll be doing AV Week. And we'll be doing this program from the floor of Infocom. So check that out. AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. This has been ResiWeek.